Now let us look at the theory of supply, right? We'll look at the theory of supply, right? And the laws of supply. So, right. Supply just refers to the quantity of goods that existing suppliers or would be suppliers would have to produce for the market at a given price over a period. Right. So it is the amount of goods that suppliers are going to produce at a given price. Right. That's basically the supply. So the quantity of the goods that can be supplied to the market can either be because of existing suppliers having increased or reduced the output, or they have stopped to produce it, or have left the market because of new entrants who are producing good products. So the variation of this supply is either the existing suppliers or because of new entrants, right? Existing suppliers can increase the amount of products that they are supplying, or new suppliers can join the market, then overall the quantity in the market will also increase. So these two things is either the existing suppliers have increased production, or new entrants or new suppliers have joined the market, right? All in all, there will be this change in the supply of the goods. So basically that's it. So let's look at the law of supply. So the law of supply states that all things being equal, the higher the price, the higher the quantity supplied, and vice versa. That's true, right? So if we can see that the market of maize attracts 50,000 per bag, right? Yeah, 50 kgs, which is higher. It will attract a lot of suppliers. Attract a lot of suppliers, one, will force the existing suppliers to make produce more of these goods. Why? Because they'll be making a higher profit. So what attracts people to producing stuff is the element of profit. So if the market is demanding a higher price, then a lot of suppliers will be attracted and there will be a lot of production, right? People will be willing to produce that. So those items that actually attract less selling price, or they are basically sold at a low price, will not attract a lot of what suppliers. Right? So that's basically it. The higher the price on the market for that good, right? Then the higher the supply, the quantity supply. That's basically it. The vice versa. If the price is low, then the supply will also be low. So what is the supply schedule? Just like the demand schedule, it is just a table that shows how quantity supplied is related to the price, right? Or it shows the quantity supplied at every given price level. Right? So, like for example, you're saying you can see when the quantity is 30,000, there are basically 50 people supplying the good. If there are 25, it's being sold at 25, 45 tons are being supplied. 20,000, then 30,000 tons are supplied. So on. So you can see it actually has a sort of a direct, right? Direct proportion, right? When one is increasing, the other is also increasing. So when it comes to the curve or the graph, the supply curve, right? It is basically constructed in a sort of a direct proportion manner, right? Direct proportion manner. So the supply curve will be like this, right? Where you have the quantity here being the x-axis or the independent variable, rather the dependent variable, and the y-axis being the dependent variable, right? Independent price, right? So you can see it will go like this, right? It means as the price is increasing, the quantity is increasing. The price is increasing, the quantity is increasing. Price is increasing, the quantity is increasing. That's the supply curve, right? That's the supply curve, right? That's the supply curve. Let's look at the determinant of supply, or what affects the supply, right? The obvious thing that will affect the supply or the quantity supplied is the price that you obtain for the good, right? If you can get a higher price for the good, then a lot of suppliers will be attracted to buying that to actually supplying that item. That's effectively the price obtained for the good. The other thing is price of other goods, right? Price of other goods, similar to the other one, right? So if let's say other goods actually are being sold at a higher level, right? Then a lot of people will be attracted going to the other product as opposed to a certain product. For example, A can be able to be sold at 30,000 and B can be sold at 80,000. Maybe they are similar items. So it means that people would prefer supplying B because they can sell it at a higher value, most likely in a higher profit as well, right? As opposed to supplying to. So the demand for A, the supply for A rather, will go down and the supply of B will go. That's to do with the price of other goods, right? The price of other goods. Another thing that you also have to be aware of is the number of producers, or in other words, the number of suppliers, right? So the question is, how many suppliers are in the market, right? Right? How many suppliers are in the market? So if more suppliers enter the market, there will be an increase in the market supply and the supply curve will shift to the right. Conversely, if the producers or the suppliers leave the market, then the market supply will shift to the left, right? So basically, we're also looking at the movement of that. So you can see if a lot of people are joining the market, right, then this should shift to this point, right? Shift to that point. So there are the two shifts, right? So this is the main one, right? This is the main one. So if, for example, right, uh, the, 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 the market is attractive, it means that it will shift to the what? To the right, right? So you can see maybe at 20,000, right? You could see now at that level. Let's use another color. You can see at that level, right? You will find a lot of people will come and purchase. You can see as opposed to Kona at the same place, right? If a lot of people have gone out of the market because of whatever reasons, right? It means at the same level, it will shift to the what? To the left. It means that you can see that the supply will actually be low. So it will means it will actually be dependent on the number of producers. Are there a lot of producers in the market, right? Are a lot of suppliers actually going to the market, right? If it is going to the market, they will shift the curve to the right. If a lot of suppliers are going out of the market, right, it means it will shift it to the left, right? So that's another item that you have to be familiar with. Another thing is that the cost of making the good itself. Very important. The input. With any other business, right? We want to make a profit. How do you make a profit? By reducing your input cost, right? By reducing your input cost. So if the cost of production, for example, labor falls, then the goods will be supplied each price. The supply curve will shift to the right. So it's basically one thing is that if the cost of production is reduced, it means that one, people will be attracted because they'll be making a lot of profit from each sale. Two is that because the cost of production has been reduced, right? People are able to go into new entrants or new suppliers are able to join the market because they'll be able to produce it because the cost of production has actually reduced. So there's two things. Either it has attracted new suppliers because now the cost of production is low, and two, it has also attracted because they'll be making a higher profit because if initially it was at 20, producing an item, they were selling it at 50 kwacha, they are making a what? 30 kwacha, right? It means that if the cost of production went down to, let's say, 10 kwacha, they'll be making 40 kwacha profit. So because of that, it will attract some suppliers. So it means a lot of people will be able to produce, right? Or production will increase. Right? Another thing to be familiar with is the changes in technology. So the technological development which reduces the cost of production will raise the quantity of supply. Same thing, right? The technology is helping to reduce what? The cost of production. So cost of production will increase production, right? So basically that's it. Another thing, last but not least, is the other factors such as changes in weather, right? So it's possible that the changes in weather could affect the production. For example, harsh weather condition would affect the production of tobacco or the supply of tobacco, right? Maybe tobacco just sana kule mokwanira. So it means on the market there will be less of the production. Good weather condition would mean that a lot of people have grown the tobacco and a lot of produce. It means on the market there will be high quality tobacco on the market and a lot of tobacco. So other factors such as the weather condition could also affect the the supply, quantity supply on the market. So those are the factors or that actually affect supply. So let us look at the changes in the market curve. Just like we saw with the demand, there are two movements that we should be familiar with. Movement along the supply curve, right? And movement shifting to the right or to the left, right? So what we mean is that if we have a curve, so you have the quantity here and you have the price here, right? Movement from here to here is the one that we're talking about. So movement along this curve, right? That's the one that we're talking about. That's the first one, right? So with this one, this will be dependent on the price, right? The changes in the price. If the price is increasing, it means that the quantity supplied will also increase. If the price is decreasing, then it will also cause the quantity supplied to really decrease. While the other type of movement is the one that we're talking about, the shifting to the left or the right, right? We saw that it could shift to here or shift to here. To the right, we're saying that the supply is increasing. Supply increasing. While when it is to the left, then the supply is decreasing. Right? The supply is decreasing. So that's basically the second shift that we should be familiar with. So That's what we will talk about when it comes to the shift of the market supply, right? So the market supply curve is actually the sum of the supply of individual firms in the market. So any change of the conditions of the supply, for example, the price of other goods, cost of factors of production, would actually alter the shift, right? We saw a number of items of Wood Magambody. We talked about the shift, right? We saw that these factors right here will affect the shifting either to the left or to the right, right? Either to the left or the right. The question is, what would cause a shift to the left or the right? Then the answer would be cost of other product, right? The cost of production, right? The cost of production, the number of producers joining, right? Stuff like those, right? So those are basically the factors that we have to consider in such a scenario, right? So that's to do with the shift. Now, let's look at another concept, which is very important. Now it is the equilibrium, right? The equilibrium. Determination of the market equilibrium. So the question is, what is equilibrium, right? So it's coming from the word equal or to balance, right? So the price mechanism brings supply and demand into equilibrium. So these two forces, when they are going head to head, what will happen? They will reach a point called the equilibrium price, right? They will go into a state of equilibrium, right? So at this stage or price, it means that the quantity demanded and the quantity supplied on the market are equal. So what we're saying at this point is quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. So this is what is called the equilibrium point. This is what is called the equilibrium point or the equilibrium price, right? The price at which quantity supplied and quantity demanded are the same. While the market price is something is basically the market price is determined by the demand and supply curve between both being brought together in a single graph, right? This is called the equilibrium price. So you can see now if I was to sketch my demand curve, right? You remember the demand curve is like this. While the supply curve, on the other hand, is like this. So this point right here, right, is the equilibrium point, right? And this is the equilibrium price, and this is the equilibrium quantity, right? The equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. So all the times, right, you be in a situation where the market forces will actually force the price to shift to the equilibrium point. So the forces of demand and supply will push the market to equilibrium, price and quantity. However, the following key points have to be noted when it comes to equilibrium points, right? If there is no change in the condition of demand or supply, the equilibrium price will rule the market and it will remain stable. So if the changes in the supply and demand are constant, there are no changes, it means that the equilibrium price will be the one that prevails. Second thing is that the equilibrium does not rule if the market is in disequilibrium, but demand and supply will push the price towards the equilibrium. So it's possible that the state of the market is in disequilibrium. Why? What is disequilibrium? It is where the demand is not equal to the quantity supplied or the supply. So what it means is that at this stage, it is not the equilibrium price that is prevailing. Imagine if what's happening if there are a lot of people wanting an item, right? Than the item that is basically what being supplied. That is the state of disequilibrium. So at that state, right, then the equilibrium price will not rule, right? And lastly, the shift in demand. So the shift in the demand curve or the supply curve will change the price and quantity. So whenever these are changing, there will be. So by example, right? I will draw my my graph, right? So let's draw our graph. So we have this is our graph. So we have the quantity here, and we have the what? We have the price here. So this initially is what's happening. This is the supply curve, and this is the demand curve. And this point is the equilibrium. So you have the equilibrium price at that point and the equilibrium, right? So if the demand curve moves this side, right, it means going there. It means that the equilibrium point will shift from where it was to this, because now you can see there's a new point where, so it will go up. So that's what we have to know. First thing is that if the conditions of demand and supplies do not change, then the equilibrium price will rule and will be stable. One, if the market is not in equilibrium, that's in disequilibrium, it means that the equilibrium will not rule. But the forces of market and supply will actually force this into equilibrium. 3, right? 4, right? Then the shift of the demand curve or supply will change the price and quantity of the equilibrium. So I want us to understand now a state of disequilibrium is like this. So ndindi demand curve ija ili uku and the supply curve choncho, right? So you have the supply curve and the demand curve. We know at this stage up the equilibrium point. So the price is here, right? Koma anthu atapeza kuti the price is somewhere there, right? This is the disequilibrium, because what he's saying at that point, right? At that price, right? There are a lot of people that there are less people that want the item, because at that point demand, you can say 2020, right? But because the price is too high, right? It has attracted a lot of suppliers. So you can see what people on the market want 20 kgs, but the suppliers want what? Have supplied. They are being attracted by the market because they are obtaining a higher price. You basically already bunch about 40 kgs. So that's the state of disequilibrium. So you can see at that price it's not the equilibrium point actually what ruling. Because of this, what will happen is that these forces of demand and supply will actually influence kuti ifikeso ku equilibrium point. Why? Mukuona kuti anthu amene akufuna katundu ndochepa than amene akugulitsa. What happens is that everyone wants to sell. Chimene chimachitika nchona kuti now chifukwa anthu akufuna ndi anthu ochepa kapena zikufunika ndi zinthu zochepa, what will happen is that these guys will actually what? It's either two things. They will reduce the prices, right? They will reduce the prices, right? They will reduce the prices kuti katundu wawo agulidwe, right? They will reduce the prices. So because they are reducing the prices, a lot of people will start to be attracted. Mpaka zinthu zipe zoti zapanga shift kuzapeza katundu wawo. Because akufuna agulitse, they will reduce their prices from a current price, right? Mpaka zapeza kuti yabweranso pa equilibrium. Now zapeza kuti now you have yabwera pa equilibrium. One is because it was lowering the price, it meant it was attracting other people. At the same time, other suppliers were saying that they were no longer attracted. It meant that they were no longer supplying. So it will end up falling at the equilibrium point, right? Even when it is what? At disequilibrium, right? The forces of market and supply will force the situation to shift to the equilibrium point. Right? So that's to do. So let's look in detail when it comes to disequilibrium. Right? So we said that this state or this situation is where the demand is not equal to the supply. That's disequilibrium. Right? That's disequilibrium. So the demand is not equal to supply. That's disequilibrium. So we've been explaining about disequilibrium as this state. So whenever you are at this state, right, you should expect. So if the graph of equilibrium looks like this, supply, demand, this is the equilibrium point. It means this is the equilibrium price, and this is the equilibrium quantity. Right. So that's basically it. So if the price was either above or below, right, what would happen is that, right, for example, if the price was at P1 from PE, which is the equilibrium price, what will happen is that for the supply, it would go, right, it go down, right, from where it was at this point, let's say it was 50, it would go to 40. Right? That's supply. Why? What we're saying is the price has gone down. So people supplying have also gone down. While in the same place, right, the demand will go up. Right? Let's say here it's succeeding, right? So you can see now there's that disequilibrium. You have 40 supply and not equal to 60 demanding, right? So this is the state of disequilibrium. So what will happen at this state, right? What will happen at this state? So what will happen is, as I say, right? Because now the supply is high, right? Now the suppliers are able to what? To charge higher, right? They are able to charge higher, right? They are able to charge higher because right? They're able to charge higher. By the moment they are charging higher, what's happening is that as they are going, it will be pushing the price towards the equilibrium. Because if they're charging higher, the demand of it will actually start to go low. And because the price is going up, it will attract more people to supply. So eventually it will push it up again. Same applies if it is above here. So above the equilibrium point or below, but it will still actually do its work to push it back to the equilibrium. That's basically to do with the equilibrium. Thank you.